Get a percent, don't you? Huh? Do you use that one?
No.
So it'd be 6.09%. And one of my homework is in order. It's all over. I hope.
All right, so quick review. I invest $1,000 each month into an account that pays 6% compounded monthly. How much is in the account in 19 months? All right, so as we're dealing with Chapter 12 and Chapter 13, we're investing. Right? We've learned how to use columns 1, 2, and 3. Which column is this? 1. Why?
Because we're investing $1,000.
Because we're investing $1,000. Now, careful. Cynthia, how many times am I investing that $1,000?
6%.
19 months. 19 months. That is
What's the key phrase up there in that first sentence?
each month.
Each month. So how many times am I investing $1,000? 19 times. Is that column 1? What does column 1 do? That's when you invest once and then you earn compound interest, right? Column 3 is investing each period and earning compound interest. Okay? So when you are trying to discern whether or not we are using column 1 or column 3, look for that phrase each. And the other one that goes along with it is every, right? Those are those words that tell you you're doing something repeatedly, and that means that it has to be the Chapter 13 stuff instead of the Chapter 12 stuff. Alright? Again, remember that you can write notes on your tables so that you know which tables are which. Write accordingly. Alright? So this is column 3, because we're investing each month into an account that pays 6% compounded monthly. What is P when you're dealing with column 3? How much you invest. So it's $1,000. And then what page and row am I going to go to? 6%. What am I going to do with that 6%?
Divide by 12.
Divide by 12. So what page am I going to go to? 0.5%. Good. Please be careful with that. So many times I'll have students tell me that it's 2. That's the other way. What row am I going to go to in column 3? How many periods are there? 19, right? In theory, if you want, you could say that this is 19 twelfths years, right? Technically, 19 months is the same as 19 twelfths years. And when you multiply that number by 12, 19 twelfths times 12 will just give you your 19 periods, okay? If you know how many periods there are, you don't have to do this little multiplication stuff. Don't sweat that. But realize that the row is always the number of periods, okay? So once we have the column, the page, and the row that we look on, now we just need to use it and abuse it. So we go to the 0.5% page, column 3, row 19, 19.8797. And again, multiply that number by 1,000, because that's how much I've invested. And again, when you multiply by 1,000, you just move the decimal to the right, the number of times that you have zeros. So and realize again that this is essentially the future value, or how much you're going to have in the account in 19 months. How much interest did I earn? I could ask that question as well in these sorts of problems.
Should be $879.70.
Why?
Because you invested $1,000 each period for 19 periods, so that's $19,000.
Right, exactly. So don't get yourself confused by seeing the 1,000 and thinking that's the amount you've invested. Remember that you're doing this each month. So it's $19,000 of invested money, and you've really only earned that $879.70 in interest. All right. So column 3. Now a little bit of additional, just to be safe, right? I invest, let's go with $500 at the beginning of every quarter into an account that pays, let's go with, say, 8% compounded quarterly. How much will I have in 4 years? Okay, so first off, what column this time? Why is it column 3? Because I'm investing every quarter and I want to know how much I'm going to have, okay? So this is still the same problem. I just rewrote the word each and used the word every instead. And changed it from monthly to quarterly. That's tricky. What else is slightly tricky about this problem? Yes, please don't forget this one, right? When I tell you that I'm investing at the beginning, my column 3 becomes an annuity due column 3 instead of an ordinary annuity, which this one is. When I don't tell you when the money is being invested, you assume it's being invested at the end. That's ordinary annuities, right? But if you see that word beginning, ding, 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 right? That's bells and whistles in your head that says, okay, annuity due. P is the $500 I'm going to invest each period. What page am I going to go to this time? 8%. Quarterly. We are at the 2% page. And what row am I going to go to? But what are you going to do before you go to row 16? Because this is annuity due.
You add one?
You add one. So remember that annuity due makes you add one. Because when you invest at the beginning, you get to earn an interest every period. When you invest at the end, you don't. So by adding one row, we're getting our extra interest into our calculation. So we're really on row 17. So 2%, column 3, row 17, 20.0120, is that what you guys got? Multiply by your 500. $10,006.
Yeah.
And then what's the last thing I have to do because this is an annuity due? Yeah, subtract the P, right? When you add a row, basically you're saying that you invested 17 times, but you really didn't. You only invested 16, so to correct for that at the very end, subtract the 500 off, because that takes back that 17th investment. So that we really are going to have $9,506 in this account. And again, please remember that this is an approximate number because we're still using tables, and tables are approximations, right? Again, though, the reason we use the tables is to do this exactly. We would have had to calculate compound interest 16 times. And that might have sucked. It would have been fun. And I know you guys would have enjoyed it.
Make that very different definition.
I mean, you guys' hands have gotten soft over the years. You need to start working them out again. I like these chapters too. All right, so this is our review of what we've done so far in Chapter 13, and that's dealing with annuities. We're investing every period, and we want to know how much we're going to get to when we do this. All right, now. Any questions on that? Okay. So, moving on to our next column. What's the title of column 4? Present value annuity. All right. A present value annuity, the way that we deal with a present value annuity is, what you're trying to do is, how much money do you need in an account to receive equal payments each period? So if you think about these ordinary annuities or annuities due, what we're doing is investing a certain amount and figuring out where we're going to be. This one says, instead of investing into the account, it sure would be nice if we could get the money back. Right? So column 4, or present value annuities, is all about getting money out of an account and getting it on an equal basis every period. Okay? Do you know any kinds of annuities like this? Where you get paid, say, a certain amount every year for a certain number of years if you want it.
Lottery.
Structured settlement?
Yep, These are the lottery / structured settlement examples. So when you win the lottery, what does the lottery advertise? They say that we're going to pay you
X amount in annuity.
as an annuity, right? Hence the phrase annuity inside of here, right? So the lottery. So let's do the lottery example first. Lottery. you win how much should we win? You guys have no imagination.
$1 million.
$10 million. Come on, folks. We're sharing this between the rooms, so we each got to get at least $1 million. So 3, 5. Yeah, there's 10 of us in this room, so we're all winning $1 million. You're happy you came to class, aren't you? All right, but the way they're going to do it is as an annuity that pays $500,000 each year for 20 years. So you're not really getting $10 million up front. What they're doing is they're going to say, you're going to get $500,000 at the end of every year for 20 years, and then if you add all that money up, $500,000 a year for 20 years, that's how you get to the $10 million. Right? Lotteries always advertise the full payment amount of their payments, of the winnings. Very few people ever collect that number. And the reason why is because what they get paid is the present value, not the $10 million up front. All right? So what column 4 does for us is it calculates how much we would get paid out in a lump sum instead of our annuity. All right? So if we won this annuity, you win a $10 million annuity, $10 million lottery as an annuity that pays $500,000 for 20 years. How much is the lump sum payment? That's what column 4 answers, is how to figure out how much you get paid up front. Because what the lottery commission is going to do is it's going to take that money, put it into an account that is going to be earning a certain amount of interest, and the interest that you earn over that 20 years is how they make up the difference between how much they put in and the $10 million.
So majority of people take the lump sum.
Yeah.
That's insane.
They don't want to waste some money.
Because
They don't want to wait.
$500,000 a year isn't enough.
No, of course not. Yeah, well, it's not going to be 10 million. How much is it going to be? All right, so we use column 4 to answer this. So, column 4. P, when you're dealing with P, folks, it is the amount you get paid each period. Okay, so don't mistake it as the $10 million. That's wrong. It's the payment amount that you're getting each period. So in this case, our P is $500,000, or payment amount each period. All the other stuff, same old, same old. All right? So, let's assume, how much is the lump sum payment if the account pays 5% compounded annually? And I will tell you right now that most lottery commissions, the interest that they earn is way more than 5%. And you'll see why in a little bit. So, if I'm earning 5% compounded annually, what page am I going to go to? 5%. Because what are you going to divide by? 1, right? It's perfectly okay for you guys to tell me that 5% divided by 1 is 5%. You don't have to, but not a bad thing to show. What row are we going to go to? 20? Because how many payments are we going to get? How many periods are there? 20, right? 20 years times 1 equals 20 periods, or 20 payments, however you want to look at that. Again, now that you've seen the pattern on how to use the table, this is not that uncommon of a problem to work with. You can tell me that the table value, what's problem 3?
12.4622.
4622, so 5%, row 20, 12.4622, multiplied by your 500,000 bucks. How much are we going to get as a lump sum, folks? $623,110.
That's it?
That's it. So,
Is that with or without taxes?
oh, this is
This
pre-taxes too,
Yeah.
right? I mean, as soon as you get your $6 million bucks, what does the government step in and do?
Plus taxes.
55 to 65% on lottery winnings over $1 million bucks, right? So take another half of this off on top, right off the bat. This is why we all want to split it up, right? Because if you split this $6 million up and we all get $623,000, you only have to pay like 45% because it's less than $1 million.
So you take 45% on less than $1 million?
Yeah, up front. Unless they may have changed it though. It may have gone back to 50%. They lowered it for a little while, but that's lump sum right off the bat. I mean, before they even write you the check, they basically take it out. Well, yeah, usually, if you have a good financial advisor, you put that money into a trust account so that then there's at least no taxes on it after that. But after you actually put it in the account and you get the money, then again, all the interest that you earn is taxable, etc., etc. So if you put it into say even just a savings account, $600,000 in a savings account earning interest, you pay taxes on every penny of the interest you earn, unless it's in a structured account where all of the interest is tax-free.
Is that for all gambling?
Yeah. The dollar amount makes a difference, right? At some stage, you have to report the money. I think it's like $500 or $1,000 if you win that much in one city. 1,200, is that what it is now?
When we went to, it's 12. When we went to Vegas, I won like 6 grand, so I have to report it.
Well, I won a poker jackpot in Indian casino poker, and it was like $850, and I still had to fill out the form.
Really?
Yep, and they
I
took
won
tax right off the
1,000 on a
front.
scratch out ticket, and I knew I had to go.
You had to film
Yep,
it?
gotta fill it out. Gotta fill out the I-9 form saying this is income for me.
Right.
At least they didn't take the money off the top, right? I mean, it's when you get to that $1 million value that they just say,
Sorry.
yeah, well, just take that right now, thank you. Why? Because if you've got $6 million, I mean, what's the first thing you're going to do? Spend it. No, you're going to fly somewhere that doesn't charge you as much taxes and live there for a while, right? Because then you don't have to worry about it, right? If the government takes the money up front, then you're like, well, okay, I only got $3 million. Well, now I can't live high on the hog forever. You know, in some third world country that doesn't charge any taxes. It's not a bad idea if you think about it, right? Saves you on taxes. Anyways, though, here's how it works, right? So it's all it's trying to do is to tell you how much is an annuity that would pay you a certain amount every month, or every period in this case, up front. And again, the idea here is that if you put this much money into this account, for 20 years, you could pull $500,000 out of that account per year, and at the end of 20 years, this account will be empty, right? So that's the whole idea behind these structured annuities, is that it's really meant so that you get paid a specific amount per period, and then at the end of all the periods, there's nothing left, right? Or what is left is, piddly, right? And usually the way these structured annuities work is that they'll, whatever the last payment is, it's not a full $500,000. It'll be $500,000 plus or minus whatever interest you didn't make in that last period to make up for it. Again, if you're collecting $500,000 a year, are you going to be pissy about 10 or 20 bucks? Probably not. But you might be. Banks would be. But again, though, it all kind of depends. Now, what happens to our settlement? What happens to our payment if this number is 8%? if this number is 8%, we're going to earn more interest, right? If we earn more interest, how much money do they have to start with? Less. So, just for kicks and giggles, do the same problem here at 8% and see how much we get up front. So, we'll switch to red and say, ooh, what happens if we use 8%? What's the table value there? What was that? 8181. Multiply that number by $500,000.
So that's why their interest is lower.
And this is why, when you look at the lottery commissions, when you know the lottery commission is having difficulty, this number will keep going up. Period. Right? What's our buyout here? Do we even get $5 million? No.
4,909,000. Oh, 050.
050? Because of course, when you're earning 8% interest, remember that money is mostly going to be sitting in there for almost up to 20 years, right? So, when you win the lottery, you want this percent to be low if you're going to take the buyout up front, right? I mean, because then they're going to pay you more. But again, note the difference. I mean, what's $1.3 million difference in our buyout because the interest rate went up by 3%.
It's almost like $4 million difference just taking the buyout.
True. Again, 8% take the buyout, you lose half the value of it right off the front. That's a little scary. Again, I don't know exactly how lottery commissions determine this percent. I've never seen it written anywhere what it is. But then again, I never played the lottery, so I haven't had to research it yet. But if you're bored someday, look it up. See what Google says. Be curious to see what they say. Why lottery commissions set this percent to a specific value. There has to be some rule that's based in reality instead of just them kind of going, you know.
How much money do we want? Probably based on how much money and how long they pay it out to equal whatever your total payout amount is.
Well, agreed, but remember that they're going to take this much money and they're going to put it in that account. And it had better earn 8% or they're not going to have enough money to pay you $500,000 for 20 years, right? So if it's only earning 6%, they're going to have to come up with some extra money the last couple of years of your annuity to cover the difference, right? So they better have a number that's pretty close to correct. Again, though, where does that number come from? I don't know. It's a little scary. Again, though, most people, do they take the annuity? No. And again, the reason why is that if you die when you win the lottery, halfway through your payments, yeah, nobody gets anything off of it. Right? This is not something that is a family heirloom that you can pass on to your heirs or your brothers or sisters and say, well, you get the $500,000 next year because I died. You die, your annuities are cut off, and all the money goes back to the state.
I thought there was a way that you could put it in your children's names.
Certain ones they have, certain lotteries that they have, but
Right.
not in general.
Yeah, not in general. These big ones, almost all the time if you take the
You just
annuity,
have
it's
your
you will
18-year-old
only
child
use
claim it. When he's a
Yeah, true, exactly. Oh no, my 8-year-old bought the lottery ticket. Yeah, they gotta be at least 18. So they can legally gamble.
That's what my ex did.
That's a good idea. Except, of course, if your kids all of a sudden hate you, what are they going to do? Oh, yeah, that $4 million you're supposed to be getting every year? No, I'm going to be in Europe. All right, so that's column 4. So some other examples of column 4, other than the structured settlements and stuff like that. So I want an annuity niece, say, so my niece is, she's just entered teenager years. I feel sorry for my little brother. But, you know, obviously she's got to that point now where she wants things, and my brother is a high school teacher, which means he can't afford things. So, so I want to set up an annuity to get my niece some money so that she can buy some of the things that she wants, right? So I want an annuity to pay my niece $250 each half year for 5 years. Because she's 13, she gets out of the house when she's 18, so I'm like, look, I will give you, you know, essentially $250 every half a year so that you can use it, spend it, do whatever you want with it, right? Well, within some reason, hopefully. Again, giving teenagers money is never a good idea, but I'm the uncle, I'm the happy, good-for-nothing uncle, because I don't have any kids of my own,
So
so.
the uncle that spoils because you don't have kids?
All right, so my question to you is, how much do I need to put into this account so that she can just, end of every half year, get a check for $250, and at the end of 5 years, it's empty, right? How much do I put into the account so my niece will get her payments? Now, my first question to you is, how much money would I have to have if I was going to use my mattress instead of a bank to hold all of my cash? So at the end of every half year, instead of getting a check from a bank, I was going to walk to my mattress, open the zipper in the middle,
You better have $250
$250 in cash, and mail it to her, right? So how much would I need to have? $2,500. Why? Exactly. $250 times 2 to get you how much per year? $500 per year. 5 years, $2,500. So, the most I would need, the most I would need is $2,500. That's if I don't use a bank. So if you give me a number that's more than $2,500, thank you. You would be incorrect. Okay? Because that's how much I need to do it without the bank. But with the bank will be nice to me and pay me some interest. Alright, so again, the nice part about column 4. Notice what's happening here. In column 1, 2, and 3, what were we always doing? Putting money into the bank, right? What are we doing in column 4? Getting it out. Column 4 is the easiest one to notice because that's the only one where we get money instead of put money in. Okay? So you should never mistake using column 4 because it's the only one where you're getting paid. Okay? Alright, so this, because we're getting paid, is column 4. Again, P is the payments that we're getting. How much are we getting every half year in this example? Oh, I need to give you a... Let's say it's 5% compounded semi-annually. Sorry about that. Since we just were on that 5%, let's stick with it. So, what page am I going to go to? Two and a half, because you're going to take 5%, compounding twice a year, semi-annually. The 2.5% page. What row am I going to look on?
10.
Yep. 5 years, technically times 2. There will be 10 periods of me giving $250 to my niece. Again, 250 times 10, that's the 2,500 max amount we need. What's our table entry on row 10, page 2.5? Column 4? 8.7521 multiplied by your 250 buckos. And how much do I need to put in there?
$2,188.03.
3 cents?
You're rounding up.
Yeah, round it accordingly. So all I need, instead of the $2,500, is $2,188.03. Not too bad if you think about it, right? To buy happiness for your niece, is it worth $2,200?
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't have to ask her a job.
Well, yeah, that's sort of her problem too, is that since she really doesn't have the gumption yet to start working. Hopefully that'll change.
How old is she?
13. She keeps whining for things, and they tell her, well, if you want things, go get a job so you can buy them yourself. And they're like, why do 13-year-olds all do that? Did we do that when we were 13?
I had a job at 13.
I'm
So
all
did I.
gone.
I delivered newspapers.
babysat.
I started delivering newspapers when I was 8, folks.
I was 7 when I started delivering newspapers.
Yeah. And of course, every penny I earned, my mom took from me and hid. She was nasty. But of course, she put it in a bank, and back when I was a kid, interest rates were like 12, 15%. That first year that I was a paper boy, the money, like, I was like, wow. You know, like I put $600 in there one year, and the next year, all of a sudden, it was worth $800. I was like, whoa. Where did I get the money from? She's like, free money. I was like, oh, these are the sorts of things that will make you a mathematician as a child. 600 converts to 800, and you didn't do anything. All right. So column 4, the traditional example for column 4 that is used more often than not, though, is retirement.
I thought
Right.
you were retarded. What?
All right, so retirement. When you retire, you are going to get basically a structured settlement. They're going to say you're going to get paid, you know, $1,500 a month for the next X number of years of your life. How do they figure that out? Well, this is exactly how they do it. They basically use column 4. All right? Now, I'm going to simplify the problem so that we don't have to do this in monthly payments, because then you know, if you do things monthly, you can never go more than 4 years, because what's 4 times 12? 48. How many rows are in the tables? 50. If we go past 4 years, we would need a bigger table. So I'm going to simplify it a little bit. So let's say that, all right, when I retire, I want to earn or to get paid. I'm not earning it anymore. I'd have to work to earn it. So this is, I want to get paid. How much do I need per year when I retire? What do you guys think? $40,000. Okay.
That's not much.
Yeah, true. But yeah, I'm a cheap guy. Do remember that I worked for 11 years as a programmer at Epic. And I invested every year I was there into their 401k.
And hopefully interest rates were better.
Yeah, the first few years until 2008 came along and it basically went. Yeah. But then it came back. But whatever. Anyways, I want to get paid $4,000, $40,000 a year. How many years am I going to live? What do you think?
What age you retired?
What age are
I'm going to retire at 67 officially, because that's when the government has told me I have to retire at 67 in order to collect Social Security.
67
Okay,
and a half.
22 years.
let's assume that I live till, so I collect, I retire at 69, 67, and since this is a morbid class, I die at, let's say 80, because that's when my dad died. Right? He died at 82. And his died at 81, so that's probably a pretty good guess for me. Most mortality tables will say if your dad died at 80 and your grandfather died at 80, guess when you're going to die, folks? Probably 80. If you get lucky, right? I mean, barring accidents, in theory I will live this long. So, my question then is, how much money do I need to have saved if I have an annuity that pays 8% compounded annually? We'll keep it easy and compounded annually. How much should be in the account when I hit 67? In other words, you see all those commercials where the guy was walking around with his retirement number. How much money did he need, right? This is basically how they figure out what that number is. They ask you, how much money do you need when you retire per year? They figure out a percentage that you're going to earn in interest. Usually 8% is a relatively high one. But sometimes you can get lucky and earn that much. Alright, so how are we going to go about doing this problem? Again, I want to get paid $40,000, therefore this is a column 4 problem. P is how much I'm getting paid per year, 40 grand. Again, I will not be doing a whole lot of traveling, right? Because at 40 grand, that barely covers my stupid taxes in my house. Frickin' Madison. Yeah, that's true. Alright, what page am I going to go to? 8%. And again, since we're compounding annually, we get to stay on the 8% page. And what row am I going to go to? Y row 13. I don't see the number 13 up there anywhere.
67 to 80.
67 to 80. I'm going to have 13 years of retirement before I croak.
That sucks for you.
Someone put me to home.
That won't even cover his home cost.
I don't have any kids, so I don't know who's going to put me in that home. Probably
Your wife.
my wife. That's probably true. She would, damn it.
Your knees from that kind of turn off.
What? If I'm giving her $250 a half
But
year.
it's only for 5 years.
Well, true. But I'm going to change the number when she goes to college, right? I'll make it bigger when she goes to college so that I wind up at least a nice home. All right, so
Your niece would put you in a better home than your wife.
That's
well,
what
my niece doesn't live with me while my wife does.
Because your wife watched your videos lately.
Luckily, she doesn't really watch them. All right, so what's the table value for this particular problem?
7.903.
7.9038 multiplied by my $40,000. How much needs to be in? How much do I need to have saved by the time I'm 67?
31,000. Wait, no. 316,000.
And 52?
No,
152.
$316,152. That's all I need to build up in order to get it into retirement. Now, note, right? Let's assume that right now I'm only, say, 40. I might be 40, or I can remember 40, whichever way it is. Anyways, if I am 40 right now, how much do I need to have in this 8% account so that it grows to 316,152.
17 years, 8%.
So the tack on to the retirement problem is, how do I get to $316,152? Because that's my goal, right? I know what my goal is. Now I just have to figure out how to get there, right?
And then 27 periods.
If I am 40 now, again, cough, cough, and earn 8% compounded annually.
So are you saying that there's nothing in there right now?
No. I'm saying how much needs to be in there right now at age 40. And I don't put any more into it. I'm just investing once and earning compound interest until I get to 67. So my first question is, what column am I going to use? 2, right? Because column 2 is where you know what your goal is and you're just investing once, right? So this is column 2. Reach a goal, invest once. What's my P in this problem?
316,000.
My goal, right? 316,152. What page am I going to go to? 8%, because again, we're compounding things annually, right? What row am I going to go to this time?
17.
27.
Why 27?
You subtract 30 from 60.
67 minus 40 is 27, not 17. Hopefully I'm not going to be 67 in 17 years.
Shut up.
I mean, I'm old, but I'm not that old. So the row here is 27 years, again, times 1, which is 27 periods. So I'm going to earn 27 years of compound interest at 8%. What's my table value?
0.1252.
0.1252. What? How much do I need to have saved so far now that I'm 40? 39,500. So no, this is weird, right? I mean, think about it. This is basically $40,000, right? What's that $40,000 turning into? 13 $40,000 payments. That's what compound interest does for you folks. And note that I'm compounding this 8% annually. Right? Most 401ks compound quarterly, which means I would earn even more interest in this particular problem. And 8% is about what the stock market earns on average each year. I mean, this is a realistic problem, and it's not all that far from reality, right? 40,000 bucks a year, all I need to have had at age 40 is where, and notice I'm not investing any more, right? This is just one-time shot. So from 40 to 67, every penny I earn, I just blow it. Because I'm going to get paid $40,000 a year, every year at age 67 until I'm 80. I'm not worried about it. I mean, I saved this much money in 2 years at Epic, because the 401k allotment was $17,500. That's like $35,000. I'm essentially already there after 2 years of saving, right? You guys can do it too. Right? This is the idea. This is exactly what the whole point of this class is, in my opinion, is for you guys to do this calculation for yourself. All right? To figure out how do you get to retire. again, right, I mean, this lovely 8% technically compounded quarterly, that's what the stock market does. You can use that as a basis. Go from there. Right? I strongly encourage all of you to figure out what your number is. First off, decide how much you want to get paid. Again, it's a little morbid because you kind of have to decide when you're going to die, which...
What if you way outlive what you estimated your death at?
That's what the government's for.
Yeah.
And folks, once you get past 80, I mean, come on, the government's paying for it, you're going to be in some not so nice home.
Hopefully I'm not some medications, we just don't have.
Yeah, I agree. Right? Medications were meant for this kind of stuff, right? Hopefully by then they'll be cheap too.
Nuts.
Yeah, I know, that's wishful thinking too.
Yeah.
All right, so that's column 4. So the classic 3 problems for column 4, winning the lottery, setting up a structured settlement, or retiring. Okay? Don't be surprised when one of those 3 shows up on the test. So, one more column. Column 5, what's its title? Sinking fund, which doesn't sound like a very good thing. But a sinking fund, all a sinking fund is reaching a goal with multiple investments. How much should you invest each period to reach a goal? Remember what column 2 did? Column 2 says, how do you reach a goal when you invest just once? Column 5 is the other side of the coin. It's how do you reach a goal when you invest each and every period. This is a little bit more realistic towards investing, right? Because when we invest, what we normally do is we invest every 2 weeks or every month or every year, whatever. We put money away. Column 5 says this is how much you need to put away every period to get there. All right? So, this problem is how much I need to invest once to get there. If I wanted to change it to how much do I have to invest every period to get there, column 5. All right. Now the reason they call it a sinking fund though is that it was mostly generated for businesses. So the classic example of a sinking fund would be, suppose GM, back when they actually had the plant opened here in Janesville, had to replace the roof of its plant, which they had to do every 4 to 5 years because there was so much moisture in the air around there and the roof rotted or rusted, whichever one they did. It didn't matter what they used. They used to use wood, they tried using metal, didn't matter. The roof just got destroyed in 4 to 5 years. Every 4 to 5 years, they had to replace it. How much do you think it cost to replace that roof? 10 million. That was basically what it was. All right? So the question is, how much did GM have to put away, say, every quarter, so that they could buy a new roof in 5 years for $10 million, right? So, not quite. Depreciation is slightly different. Depreciation is a constant value. There's no interest involved. So if you say something's going to depreciate in 4 years, you take the value of it, and every year you remove a fourth from it. It's a straight linear calculation. All right. So in this case, GM needs a new $10 million roof in 5 years. They have an account that pays, let's say, 12% compounded quarterly. It is not uncommon, folks, for companies to find really good investment savings accounts, right? Usually they're investing it in shady things, but they're still investing it somewhere else, and it's earning them a lot more money than we can earn when we invest in the stock market. Just because they have more information and they have more money. So my question is, how much do they need to invest each quarter to reach their goal? Buy a new roof, 10 million bucks, 5 years. These are classic column 5 problems. They sound exactly the same as column 2, folks. It's just that instead of investing once, invest each/every. Okay? Again, there's that key word. All of chapter 13 is based on this each or every. As soon as you see that word in the problem, your brain should be screaming at you one of the last 3 columns instead of one of the first 2. Alright? Alright, so the way it works though is exactly the same way as it did in column 2. P is the amount of money that you need. GM needs 10 million bucks. Page and column, same old, same old. Right? %. We're compounding quarterly. Go to the 3% page. Row. Well, we need it in 5 years. There are 4 quarters per year. 20 periods. Again, if they didn't use a bank and they just put the money in a hole in the ground, they would need to invest $500,000 each quarter to get to 10 million bucks. But because they have this wonderfully nice 12% compounded quarterly interest account, .0372. Multiply that by 10 bazillion or 10 million. What does GM need to put away each quarter? Yep. $372,000 per quarter, which if you know anything about GM, their earnings per quarter are usually in the $5 to $10 million range. So buying their roof was really just kind of like chump change. Which is why they didn't close that plant sooner, even though they had to pay $10 million to replace the roof every 5 years. But that is one of the reasons why they did close that plant. This, right? I mean, this is a non-insubstantial cost, right? When you're losing money and you have to keep paying this $370,000 to replace your roof, what are you going to do with the roof?
No more roof.
That's right. So that roof was caving in a few spots. Oh well. I mean, that's right, exactly, right? And just make sure you have enough insurance so that when it does fall on somebody, you don't have to pay as much as you may have otherwise. Again, think about what GM is going through right now with the 8 million car recall right now. I mean, what happened? What had to happen in order for GM to recall all those cars?
People had to die.
They had to have 5 people killed. That tends to be the cutoff, folks. Once we get to 5 people, we start to get pissed as a society, and that's when companies actually have to be responsible. Yeah, they're just money, right? GM paid all these people off. The 5th one, the money didn't cut it.
Something to do with the cheap ignition parts.
Yep. All right, so that is column 5. Again, it's investing each period to reach a goal. Just like column 2, just doing it multiple times. So let's do a retirement fund that's a little bit more reasonable now, okay? All right. Let's see, gotta make sure the numbers work out. All right, so. When I was, let's see, does that work? No, that's too many years. And we'll just change it a little bit. All right, when I was 35, I decided I was going to retire at age 55. Again, for those of you that are 35 or younger, that's a nice thought to think, right? I mean, even if you're less than 35 right now, you can think the same thing, right? So, let's use, let's say the stock market earns, let's be aggressive this time. Let's say 9% compounded semi-annually. And of course, this is where I'm investing, is in the stock market, right? So my annuity is my 401k investment or an IRA or whatever you want to call it, right? All right. How much do I need to invest each half year so I can retire at 55 and get $40,000 each half year out of this account until I am 65. Now this is a more realistic retirement type question / problem. All right? So assume at 35 you have saved nothing. Not all that uncommon. So we want to start planning though. We're saying, okay, at 35, there's no way I'm going to be able to work more than 20 years because after 20 years I'm going to be done. I've decided. I mean, it's good wishful thinking, right? So, and again, I was wise and had no children, so I don't have to pay for those things, right? No college, no diapers, no braces, no glasses, no broken legs, all that stuff, right? Which all of you deal with, right? Alright, so, the question then is, how do I figure out how much to put away so that I can get these payments when I finally retire? This, folks, I will warn you, is a two-part problem. What's the first part of the problem? The first part of the problem is not what you're trying to figure out, right? That's actually the last part of the problem. The first part of the problem is, how much money do I need? So that I can get paid $40,000 each half year. Note that that's $80,000 a year. That's a little bit more reasonable, folks. That's how much I'm going to need.
So probably you'll need $800,000.
That's if I don't have a bank. How much am I really going to need if my account keeps earning 8%? 9%, sorry, yeah. How would you figure out how much What would you use to figure out how much you need to have so that you can get paid $40,000 every half year for 10 years?
Column 4.
Column 4. There's the start of the problem, right? There's two parts to this problem. The first part is how much money do I need, right, to get the amount of payments that you think you need, right? So first part, pens are all dying on me. First part, how much money do I need, that's an N, for payments? And when you're getting paid, that's column 4. Perfect. So, what's my P for bracket column 4?
40,000.
40,000, because P is in column 4, it's how much you're getting paid each period. Well, this is how much I want to get paid each period, 40 grand. What page are we going to go to?
4.9%.
Why?
Because it's 9% divided by 2.
Exactly. 9% compounding it semi-annually. We're going to go to page 4.5. How many periods? How many times am I going to get paid? 20. Why? Because I'm getting paid from 55 to 65. Because at 65, I'm going to start collecting Social Security, right? Because all of you guys are going to work really hard and pay into the fund so that there will be money there.
Nope. I'm not volunteering. I refuse.
20 periods. All right. So, how much money do I need to get? What's my table entry?
13.0079.
Multiply that by my 40,000 bucks. How much am I going to need in that account at age 55? 316. Looks like a big number, right? Scary. Am I ever going to get that much money? Can I ever have that much money? Of course you can. But we at least now have set the goal. Now I want to know, how many times do I need to invest each half year at 9% compounded semi-annually to get to that number? That would be column 5, right? So column 5, because we're trying to reach a goal, invest each, instead of just investing once. What's my goal? What page am I going to go to?
4.5.
Doesn't change.
20.
9% divided by 2 is 4.5%. Now be careful with the row here. How long am I going to invest?
20 years.
20 years, right? Because this is from 35 to 55 where I'm working, right? So keep track of which one's which one's which, right? The working is where you're investing. The retiring is where you're collecting, right? Because when you retire, the whole point is that you shouldn't be working anymore. I will be, folks, because insurance costs when I retire are going to be insane, and in order to get a reasonable insurance package, I will probably have to keep part-timing it for the school, and then buy into the state insurance package. That's fine. I got no problems with that. But it would, hopefully it will only be 1 or 2 classes a semester instead of 6 or 7 like it is now. All right. Anyways, row 20 years because I'm going to invest for 20 years. What row are you really going to go to? 40 because I'm going to invest each half year. So, column 5, what's my table value?
0.0093.
0.0093 multiplied by my slightly over $500,000, which sounds scary. What's this work out to be?
$4,838.94.
Breathe. So this is per half year, remember that. So a little under $5,000 a year. How much do I need to save per year? 10,000 bucks. That's it. And this is, again, I'm starting with nothing at 35. Zippo. Standard allotment that you can put into a 401k right now, folks, is $17,500. You put in that much, you can collect more than 40 grand every half year, right? Again, just got to make that commitment to say, okay, right now, I will forego a certain amount of income so that later on, I will have that much more income when I retire. Again, it's one of those where it's a double-edged sword because, you know, you got to assume you're going to live. Sometimes that's... Again, though, it can be a morbid discussion to have, but it's a very good discussion to work out so that you can start coming up with a plan, or at least start thinking about how much money you might have, right? I mean, think about saving $50 a month for, 4 years and seeing how much you're going to have if you can get, say, 12% compounded monthly, right? And that's not an unreasonable amount of interest to assume. You could even be safe and say 6%, right? And start coming up with numbers and start figuring out, oh, God, if I do that for 5 years, 5 times 4 years, 20 years running, just $50 a month, how much am I going to have? All right. Anyways, those are our 5 columns. What I would like to do before we call it a day is to review them one more time and give you my short synopsis of what each column does. And again, I will remind you one more time to not forget Chapter 10, simple interest. Please don't forget, I equals PRT, okay? And remember, you use that when you don't have the words compounded in them, right? All right, so, column 1. How much will I have in the future if I invest once now? So it calculates the future value given your present value. Column 2, how much do I need to invest now once to reach a goal in the future? In other words, I know what the future is. How much do I need to have in the present to get there? Column 3, how much will I have in the future, that's a U, I swear, if I invest each period? Note the difference between column 1 and column 3. They're doing exactly the same thing, except in column 1, once. In column 3, each period. Annuity versus just good old standard compound interest. How much do I need to invest now to get equal payments each period? Again, it's very similar to column 2, which is called present value, but it's really not the same because, again, column 4 is the only one where you're getting paid. Right? All the other columns you're investing, column 4 is the only one where they're saying get money out, or get money back, or give money to someone, or pay in child support, or pay in settlement, or whatever. All right? One of the new things that courts are doing is that when child support is calculated, instead of saying you have to write them a check once a month, they say, look, give us all the money right now. We'll put it into an account, and we'll pull out the child support every month and give it to whoever is getting the child support so that they can be guaranteed of getting the money instead of having to wait and not be guaranteed, right? That's one of the new pushes that the court system is trying to do, and they're using this column to do it, right? If your child support is $600 a month and the court can earn, say, 2 or 3% a month, you know, even if doing it 1 year at a time, right? So every year you just give me a money, bam, now at least you're guaranteed your child support check every month for a year, right? And you don't have to try and chase them down and call the police and all other crap. And a bunch of friends who've run into similar issues. And then column 5, how much do I need to invest each period to reach a goal in the future? So note that technically column 2 and column 5 are the same thing, except column 2 you invest once and column 5 you invest each period. Now, these two columns check each other, right? So when you apply column 1 and then get an answer, and then apply column 2 to it, you should come back. Column 3 and 5 are the same way for the chapter 13 stuff. Right? So if you apply column 3, you're going to see how much you have in the future. And if you apply column 5 to that number, it will tell you how much you need to invest each period, or basically get you back to where you started. Okay? So these guys check each other, these guys check each other. And then just remember that, in essence, column 1 and 3 are the same, column 2 and 5 are the same. And the major difference between them, of course, is once each. Once each. This is chapters 12 and 13 in 5 seconds. Test next week on Wednesday. Monday we will review and answer any questions on the chapter 13 homework. Please note that I am assigning the chapter 13 homework, all the evens at the end of the chapter. There are not that many of them, so I think there's only 7 or something, or 10 or 12 or something. 14? Okay, so a little bit more than a few, but a lot less than usual. So start working on them, and again, read carefully.